Let's start this problem by squaring and squaring. So let's see what we get here. So we'll use our pattern, right? We'll square the first, x squared. We'll multiply the two together. Positive times negative is negative 7x, and then we double it. So minus 14x, and then we square the last, plus 49. Then plus the x squared equals, okay, the pattern again, square the first, x squared, multiply the two together, 1x, double it, 2x, and square the last. 1 squared is 1. We can simplify this left side a little bit. Let's combine those. So we'll get 2x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals an x squared plus a 2x plus 1. And now you can see we've got quadratics, right? We've got 2x squared over on the left side, only 1 on the right. So let's eliminate this one, get all the x squareds over here on the left side. So we'll subtract, subtract, subtract. So our plan is to subtract everything over here from both sides. So that will give us 2x squared minus an x squared is an x squared. And then negative 14x minus 2 more minus 16x. And then we've got 49, and we're going to subtract 1, so that'll give us a 48 equals 0. Let's factor. Two parentheses, anticipating we can do this, and don't forget to equal 0. We got an equal sign in our problem, equal sign in every step of our work. All right, so when we factor this now, we're going to get an x and an x. And let's see, what do we want to use for this 16, the 48? Could be 48 and 1. No, that's not going to get us a 16. Cut in half and double. 24 and 2, that doesn't work. 12 and 4, I think that's it, right? We can get a 16 out of a 12 and 4. So let's go with that. So we'll go with a 12 and a 4. And the 48 is positive, so the 12 and the 4 both have the same sign, which is that middle minus sign. So minus 12 minus 4. And we can read off the solutions now. We get 12 from that first factor, 4 from the second. Let's start 24 by multiplying this left side together. So that will give us x squared. Now, the outer product is 5x, the inner product is 2x, so plus 7x and then plus 10. Right? X squared, 5x, and 2x, there's the 7x. And then the outer product is the 10, and the whole thing's equal to 4. Now, this is quadratic, right? We have a squared term, so it's quadratic. We know how to solve them. Get everything on one side, 0 on the other. I've got the positive quadratic over here. Why don't we eliminate the 4 by subtracting 4 from both sides? So the plan is to subtract 4. And doing so, we'll get this. X squared plus 7x, and 10 minus 4 is plus 6 equals 0. I can see this is going to factor, so our two sets of parentheses and the equals 0. And x and x, 6 and 1, we can get a 7. 3 and 2, we can't. So let's go with 6 and 1. 6 is positive. They're both positive. So we're going to get here x is negative 6 and negative 1. Here in number 25, we got the squared term on the left side, and the other terms, the linear and constant term on the right side, is quadratic. We know what to do. All the terms on one side, and then factor. Let's do this. Let's get everything on the left side by subtracting everything over here. So that's going to give us 3x squared, and then minus 4x, minus 4, and equals 0, right? Let's factor our two parentheses, anticipating we can factor it, and equal to 0. And let's go with only one way to get that 3 and a 1. So 3x and x. Now with the 4, we could try a 2 and a 2. In fact, let's try that. If we try a 2 and a 2, where's that going to go? Well, look what happens. This is 6x. This is 2x. Looks like that's going to work. So let's give it a try here. Let's get the signs right then. So I noticed that the 4 is negative. These numbers will have opposite signs. let's put that middle negative sign with the bigger of the two products. And the way I wrote mine, the outer product is 6x. That's bigger than the inside product, 2x. So I'm going to put that minus sign with this one, negative 6. So let's put the minus over here. Minus 2, and then a plus 2. And then this will give us, do you see it? Negative 6x plus 2x is a negative 4x. And now we can just read off our solution. So from the first factor, x is equal to negative 2 over 3, right? Change the sign and divide. And the second factor, change the sign and divide. Positive 2 over 1, just positive 2. There's our two solutions. Now in number 26, let's try to factor this. So nothing's common all the way through here, right? The first two terms have a 4x in them, but not that last one. So let's just write our parentheses, hoping we can do this, equals 0. Now 4x squared, we could go with 4x and x, or 2x and 2x. Let's go with 2x and 2x. And the 49 and 1, unlikely. Let's try 7 and 7. So if we go with the 7 and the 7, now let's just see where we're at. The outer product is 14x. The inner product is 14x. Well, 14x and 14x, we can get a 28 out of. Let's get the sign. 49 is positive. These numbers have the same sign, that middle minus sign. So we are going to get 2x minus 7, 2x minus 7. How about if we write this like this? 2x minus 7 squared equals 0. And we'll just read off our single solution. Positive 7 over 2. Right? Change the sign and divide. So we get 7 over 2. Now, we get a 7 over 2 from this one and a 7 over 2 from this one. So it's like we have two of those 7 over 2s, but we need to claim it only once. So even it is quadratic, we get two solutions, and they happen to be identical, 7/2. And here, number 28, we're just going to go backwards. We're given that these are solutions to a quadratic, and we want to write that quadratic. You know what? Let's just go over here just for a minute. You see where this negative 2/3 came from? What did we do? We had this factor. This negative 2/3 came from that factor. So what do? We change the sign and we divide. So the bottom number is the multiplier of the x, and the top number, that's the constant. We'll just change the sign. Right? So the bottom number multiplies the x. We'll change the sign of the top. So up in ours here, let's apply that idea. Here's our two parentheses, equals 0, right? Making an equation. We'll take the bottom number, that'll be the multiplier of x. So the 4 will multiply the x, and the 2 will multiply an x. Let's write those. A 4 in the x, a 2 in the x, and then the top number we got by changing the sign, right? Think about what we did back over here. How did we get that negative 2? Well, in this factor, we change the sign and then divide, right? So you change the sign. So this sign here has been changed, so we're going to change the sign. Negative 1 and negative 3 now will make it a plus 3. And now if we multiply them out, first and the first, right? 4x and 2x is 8x squared. And then the outer product is plus 12x. The inner product, minus 2x, right? Let's see that. There's the 8x squared. Here's the 12x. Here's the minus 2x. And then finally, negative 1 times positive 3 is a negative 3 equals 0. Let's combine these two terms. How about 8x squared plus 10x minus 3 equals 0. And there's our quadratic equation with these two solutions. Now we're going to do the same thing here in 29 as we did in 28, but notice that we are looking for a quadratic equation with just that one single solution. But quadratics we know have two. So what we're really thinking is that this is probably x equals 7 and another 7. And that's going to give us, when we write our parentheses, equals 0, an x and a minus 7 and another minus 7, which will give us, when we multiply it out, x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 0. So even though we started with only 1 7, we know we're looking for a quadratic, so I know I need 2. So if there's only one appearing, we're going to assume that it's just a solution, but multiple of 2. There's 2 of them there. We just write it only once. Oh, you know, I just saw this. I did 26, then I went to 28. There's a 27 in between those. Let's squeeze it down in here. So what we're going to do here is find a quadratic equation. We're going to write a quadratic equation with these as our solutions. So let's start it here. Let's write our parentheses. Equals 0, right? Equals 0 is an equation. And think about this. Where did the 3 come from? Well, I think it came from here. It's going to be x, change the sign, minus 3, right? Because 3 minus 3, that'll give us a 0. And the negative 5, that came from changing the sign, x plus 5. Let's just run a check. Look at this thing here. If you had started with some quadratic and factored it, what would you write as the solution? So you change the sign and divide. Well, change the sign, you get that 3, and you divide, you just get a 1. So all you do is just change the sign, change the sign. X, change the sign. X, change the sign. Now let's multiply through. So first and first gives us x squared. The outer product here is 5x minus the inner product, 3x, right? 5x's minus 3x's, 2x's. And then the last and the last, negative 3 times 5 is our minus 15 here, and the whole thing's equal to 0, and there is our quadratic equation.